I was like, wow, this guy's really tripping. They should put technical people out there on their boots, though. If any vendors in here, vendors, you should actually, I mean, because somebody like me will walk up and I made that dude like retreat from his position or something. Oh, I'm really not a technical guy. I said, I know. I'm a nice guy though, right? So when I first got to DC3, I already had a little bit of skill set, right? And when I was doing incident response, I was always looking for addresses, and this is kind of you want to find out like addresses of an attacker, hopefully, right? And this is getting into the whole process, right? And when you also want to know ports, right? Because there's different kind of ports, right? This right here, this is a Navy port, or a naval port, or whatever you want to call it, merchant marine port. But there's different kind of ports. There's airports. There's all kind of ports. There's carports. So we want to know what kind of ports people are talking on. And this is talking about the incident response stuff. This is what I talk to these guys about, right? You also want to know what kind of processes there are. Now, this is a really cool process right here. This is actually making cookies. Cookies is something that Marcus loves. Like, Cookie wants like, cookies, you know? But there's bad processes, too. You want to find those, too, right? So this right here, this is a meth lab. That's a bad process. It's actually kind of dangerous, right? So I was like,
he's doing okay.
Man, that's one of the things we need to find out. I love that. That's a nice slide, too. I love that. So, I mean, people ask about slides, I'm like, dude, there's nothing in my slides. It's all me, right? So,
where did you take the picture?
Huh?
He was making sure it was pure.
That's like, you know, me and Dick Cheney were hanging out at an undisclosed location. I'm glad I got away from that guy.
Before he shot you.
All right, and we also want to try to identify people. This is actually a pretty cool picture, too.
It is.
So we want to identify people, you know, if we can. My boy Wally, if y'all missed Wally Barr's talk, I wish it could have been recorded. It was classic. We're going to have that talk at Dojosec. But he was just talking about half the time you can't identify attackers anyway, but sometimes you may be able to identify them. Also, you want to, you know, collect logs or whatever. Every once in a while, you can collect logs from sites. I mean, logs from compromised machines. You want to collect all this information, right? You want to collect from Windows XP, which we have to actually write some stuff to collect from Windows XP. We've tried some cool things like we've used WMIC. Anybody cool with that, right? So we've used WMIC to do that, and we've also used this thing called is WinX. You ever heard that? WinExe? It's actually pretty nice. So we've actually incorporated some of that. So now we can respond from a Linux machine and do like Microsoft type calls, right? But those guys are too chicken to show that demo today. I got to throw you under the bus. So this is actually more complex than we kind of initially thought, because it's a lot of variables. Different networks are set up different ways. We've set up our little domains, and we've tried, and everything has to be just right. But when I think of this, I think of one of my good friends. His name is Owen Casey. He actually is really good because he talks about creating a home court advantage on your network. It's a lot of people don't know what the heck's going on their network. But and what we're trying to do with this part of this Metasponse project is we're trying to say, okay, this is what you need to be in order to respond to your network in real life. Because I've seen a lot of stuff on a lot of sites. You can name any forensic site. We look at them all, and we try to run tools, and the tools just don't work on networks. And I'm like, why don't this work? Or why don't this technique work? I look at a blog. The blog says do this. It doesn't work. So it's a big process on finding out what to tweak, what to change, and all that stuff. So we're trying to document that. We have pretty cool documentation. It's probably we're gonna release it like as an ebook manual or whatever when we release it. But everything
Thank you.
Is free. It scared me.
Excuse me. Sorry. Okay.
All right. Another thing that we want to try to do is we want to respond to memory analysis, right? We're going to respond to memory. We're going to try to capture memory. So another thing we're looking to do is we're pushing MDD. We've actually tested it. We have a test case where we can actually push MDD across the wire with no exploits. And I'm going to talk about Metasploit in a little bit. Some of you want to see Metasploit, but I'll get to that. So I actually, a long time ago, because I worked at DC3, I used to actually do a lot of hacking stuff and do a lot of forensics, like research on this stuff. And I was like, wow, it'd be cool if I just push MDD across the wire and actually, grab the memory and pull the memory back over the wire so I could steal everybody's memory if I was a hacker. And actually, the hackers actually talked about it on the podcast, and then I saw all the hackers all over the world like MDD, MDD, MDD. So, a lot of people, some people may argue sometimes about, oh, memory doesn't go away, and they refer to this thing. But really, in real life, this is what happened to memory when you turn the computer off. So, it brings us to Metasploit. So, when I originally proposed this talk, this was a couple of months ago, and I said, hey, I can do this talk on this, because we created a functional module. Actually, my man John, he actually created a Metasploit module that actually did incident response. It collected everything, but we didn't want to do it in an intrusive manner. And I've talked to a lot of my forensics people, and I got a lot of people that know forensics, and they was like, man, you can't respond with Metasploit. Nobody's going to do that. And, so I was like, well, maybe we should write it different. All right. Okay, another thing, y'all know Rapid7 just purchased Metasploit, right?
Yep.
So I was like, man,
They did?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, damn.
But actually, it's a pretty good thing. I'm really happy for HD. And but when I was actually a couple of months ago, I called HD and we talked a long time, and I was talking to him about what I was trying to do. And he said, he advised me himself. He said, look, do it as a separate module. It makes sense to have your code verified and checked and all that stuff without being associated with Metasploit. So he's actually pretty cool. He's a really cool dude. And more important than just being a cool dude, he's also from Texas. That means a lot, because I'm from Texas. Go Horns, baby. But my concern with Metasploit is sometimes it's kind of like this. I know people that just should not be playing with Metasploit. I mean, I know. And then it trips me out. I've heard there's hacker competitions and all these other competitions where people set up, a bunch of vulnerable boxes on the network and they run Metasploit or core impact against it, and they feel like they're like elite hackers. But that's like giving a crack to a 4-year-old to me. Because it gets this false sense of reality that it's not. I mean, some things aren't harmful. Sometimes they think it's cool to hack and all that stuff. And even with Metasploit, because some people not patching stuff out there, you can own a lot of stuff on the internet, and it's not even hard, really. I mean, even I can do it. So bring us back to Metasploit. Metasploit was cool, but it wasn't forensically sound, of course. And this is I like this slide right here. So when I'm in my core passion is like building networks, and I've built networks at NSA and all that stuff. And I like building networks. Do we have any network engineer backgrounds in here? We never document anything, do we?
It's called job security.
I'm telling you, man, network diagrams are horrible. We never update them. But when I started working with law enforcement agents, and I had to start teaching law enforcement, one thing they did teach me is that you have to be really precise when it comes to this whole forensics thing. You got to be precise. You got to be methodical. And so that's some of the things that we built in this whole Metasponse thing. And, despite, I'm actually going to be showing a demo of the Linux module at the end of this.